This is Ruthie at syndicatednews.net, and we are talking to Lawrence Lessig. Lawrence has known Aaron for about 12 years. Lawrence Lessig, are you with us?
I'm here.
Would you give us, in your own words, your explanation, because you've written a wonderful piece called Prosecutor as Bully, and we'd like, in your words, to hear the short version of what this means, his passing and the significant work that he gave the world.
Aaron was an idealist activist who began his work related to internet and innovation in the internet context, did extraordinary things with liberating the infrastructure to make it easier to share. He built the early architecture of Creative Commons. He was one of the early founders of Reddit. But then later in his extremely short life, he became much more of a political activist, working with Stephanie Taylor and Adam Green at the Progressive Change Campaign Committee, and then his own Demand Progress with David Siegel. He was arrested 2 years ago and charged with downloading millions of academic articles from a site called JSTOR in violation of the terms that JSTOR offered those articles under, and charged under this federal statute, the CFAA, with about 13 different felonies. He was facing criminal prosecution and threatened jail time of 30 to 50 years. And what I argued in this piece was the aggressive, extreme prosecution, way out of proportion to anything that possibly could have been happening here, was a kind of bullying. And it was intended to bully him into accepting a felony plea, which he was not going to do. And so then when he faced this trial, which after all of his resources had been bled dry and his parents were going to have to mortgage their houses again to be able to pay for it, I think it made him so incredibly depressed that he took his own life. So I was very critical in this piece of a kind of incredible extremism that prosecutors' office demonstrated, which I think was responsible, in part at least, for his decision to end his life.
Lawrence, and I was wondering, MIT's allowing him to twist in the wind, wasn't that contributory?
Yeah, MIT made a very bad decision prior to his death to not stop or not try to stop the government from doing what the government was doing. To its credit, after the suicide on Sunday, the president of MIT announced that they were going to review what happened, and they appointed certainly the best possible person at MIT to do that review, a man named Hal Abelson. And so I think that when MIT does this review, they'll acknowledge the mistake, but of course the mistake will be acknowledged long after it can do any good.
And it will be too late.
Yes.
Well, do you think this will help the Department of Justice back off these young kids?
I hope if anything comes out of this, the Justice Department will recognize the obligation of every prosecutor to practice decency and proportionality and to tame their self-righteousness enough to recognize the harm which even legitimate prosecutions impose on people. We live in a world where the architects of the financial crisis dine regularly at the White House, and where the government doesn't feel it has the ability to prosecute big banks, even when big banks engage in what everybody understands to be criminal behavior. In that world, the idea that the federal government had to have Aaron Swartz labeled a felon, a kid who has literally done nothing in his life except push for causes that he believed was in the public good, is outrageous. And I hope this at least chastises them enough that they think twice before they continue the vindictiveness that they've demonstrated in this case.
It was overzealous in every way. Well, I can't thank you enough.
This is Lawrence Lessig, and I'm on Syndicated News.